Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Munich. Good morning, Berlin. Welcome to this talk where we're going to be demystifying the development of chatbots. So, my name is Paulo Azevedo. I am not a PhD in machine learning, and I want to show you that it's not necessary to be one in order to develop chatbots. So, let's see how successful I am at that. All right, so first of all, here in the audience, who knows what a chatbot is? All right, quite a few people. But for those who might not be familiar, it is a technology that allows people to input text or voice and then get a reply back as if they were talking to a human or chatting with a human. And chatbots are in vogue nowadays. I mean, many companies are developing them. They're scalable. They don't take vacations. They don't need bathroom breaks, etc. And they're super useful. They're useful because it can lower customer relationship costs. They can be a new touch point with your customers, etc. And again, yeah, no PhD machine learning needed in order to dive into the chatbot world. So, chatbots at FlixBus. Our very first chatbot was Amazon Alexa. We launched it in September 2017. Right after we launched Google Assistant bot in April 2018. As a matter of fact, we were launch partners with Google for transactions per voice in Europe. So we're among the first companies to sell stuff. We're actually the first company to sell bus tickets per voice. And at Google I/O back in May in California, Google mentioned our FlixBus app, as a good example of how to deal with customers in multiple languages per voice. And well, we have a few more surprises coming down the road when it comes to call center, Facebook Messenger. Just stay tuned. So, when you're developing a chatbot, what do you have to take care of? First of all, those bots, they're anthropomorphized, meaning people attribute human qualities to them. So, how is it going to behave? Is it going to be a cynical, a liar, or an artful dodger? What do I mean by that? So, for instance, if you go and ask, hey Google, what's your favorite ice cream flavor? It could say strawberry. That would be a lie. Or it could be cynical and say, I don't have a mouth, I cannot feel taste. Also not so cool. Or it could be an artful dodger, and that's what it does. So it says, I like Neapolitan because it has a little bit for everybody. So, artful dodger, you can, if you put a little bit of thought into it, you can actually make something really cool. And then you have to make another decision. You want a butler, a teacher, or a peer? Meaning, you want somebody who's serving your customer, somebody who's, above your customer, kind of like guiding them, or a peer that's chatty and, like friendly. Finally, do you want to give it a name? And, those questions, when you're answering them, it's probably best if you have an international team involved. Because what works in one culture, in one language, might not work well or translate well to another. So that's something really important to bear in mind when doing that to reach international audiences. So there's a bit of vocabulary that I'm going to define right now before we dive a bit deeper. All right. So first thing, intents. Intents are what your user wants, what your user means to do. And then you have sample utterances. So are possible ways that your customer, your user, is going to say those intents. Then you have variables, which are embedded in the utterances. There's going to be an example in the next slide. And then there's a webhook. A webhook is an HTTP endpoint that receives calls with intent and variables. And then it's going to output the pertinent speech, the answer to your customer in their language. It's essentially, nowadays, JSON in, JSON out. So to give an example, to explain a bit better this vocabulary. So this is an actual intent we have in our voice assistant bot. It's called the FlixBus find ride intent. So I'm giving here two sample utterances. We have hundreds of them, but two of them. So one of them, I need to travel from Berlin to Frankfurt. Or the person can be a lot more specific and say, do you have a bus that goes from Paris to Geneva tomorrow at 1 p.m.? And you can see in green that you have the variables. So Paris is the city from, Geneva city to, etc. So those are variables in this context. How does it work? Well, the user speaks to a device, probably Google Home, can be something else. Then you have speech transcription. It's going to transform that voice input into text. Then it's going to go to another tool called Dialogflow. I mean, there are other tools that can be used there as well. Dialogflow is one of them. It's going to do natural language processing to find out what intent the user had in mind. So then it might either respond directly or send it to a webhook. Most of the cases in our bot, it's through the webhook. So our FlixBus bot lives in there, in that webhook. It answers. This answer is forwarded by Dialogflow to Google Assistant that is going to do text to speech. It's going to create sound waves based on that text, and it's going to be output for your customer to hear. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to build a chatbot live for all of you to see. How it works is I'm going to go to console.dialogflow.com, and we're going to create a bot. So I'm sorry, I'm having a bit of a technical problem. But while we solve that, you see, when you spend a lot of time with chatbots, you really start to learn a lot about them. So, for instance, you know what chatbot's favorite TV show is? The Voice. All right. We're here at Dialogflow. Let's create an agent. This is going to take a minute. All right. So let's call it FlixSummit. It defaults to English language, and we're gonna create that. That's gonna take a minute while it does some back-end processing, and then we're gonna be able to go and copy the texts that it's gonna need for the input of the user. So we're gonna create one intent called. It's still working. We're going to create an intent that is the user asking if you need a PhD to create a chatbot. Zoom in here. It's actually just processing. All right, so could you please hide the star leaf thing? Thank you. So there's this button here on Dialogflow called Create Intent. I'm going to create an intent. So I'm going to name it, as I said, is PhD in machine learning needed? And we're going to give just 2 examples, all right? So one user can ask, here, add training phrases. Do I need to be a rocket scientist to create a talking bot? Or do I need a PhD in machine learning to build chatbots? And then we need to add a response. I'm not going to go through the webhook right now. It's just going to answer directly on Dialogflow. So the response is going to be no. Just a bit of focus and effort will bring you there. So I save it. It's there. So now here on the right side, we can test it. All right. So I'm going to write, do I need to be a rocket scientist to create a bot? And then you can see the answer right here. So no, just a bit of focus and effort will bring you there. What else may I do for you today? So the bot understood it, even though I didn't say it exactly the way I had put it there before. So let us create another intent for this bot. Something a bit more interesting, because this is, kind of static response. So let's create another one called greeting intent. All right. So I'm gonna say stuff like. Hello bot, my name is Paulo. I'm going to tag Paulo as a variable of type any. I mean, it can be any text. And there we go. We have this variable here. So action and parameters. So parameters like this variable. I'm going to call it name. I'm going to say it's required, meaning the user always has to give that input. And what if the user doesn't, you might ask me? We create prompts. So the user can say simply something like, hello bot. I'm going to add that example soon. The bot's just going to ask, so, hi, what is your name? Okay, and then we're going to add another example, hello bot. And when it answers, it's going to say, hello Paulo, or hello whatever the name is. I'm going to invoke that variable using the $ and the variable name. So I'm going to save it. And so right now I'm going to use a different name. Okay, so let's say that my name is John. So I say, hello bot, my name is John. It hadn't saved yet. Let's try again. So it answers, hello John, my name is bot. So you can see that output is not static anymore. It changes according to what you put. And conversely, if the user doesn't give the name, it just says, hello bot. Then it's going to ask, oh, hey, what's your name? And then let's say my name is Chris. So I say it's Chris. It dealt with that for me without me having to worry with that. So it says, hello Chris, my name is bot. What can I do for you? I could even play the audio, but it's not connected here. So this is actually simple, but it shows a few useful examples how we can make it very easy for people to enter this world of chatbots without even needing to write a line of code. All right. So this gives us a sample bot that we can use, but of course that's a very basic one. We can extend it. So right now I have a list of possible next steps. So we could add more languages. We could have a backend to construct more dynamic responses or add a bit of small talk, etc. So I'm going to ask the audience now, what would you like to do next? And we're going to do it live.
Play music.
To play music. To play music on the bot. All right. So to play music, since I don't have an audio set up here, I cannot do that live. But I'm going to tell you a bit how you can do that. There is this thing called SSML. It's a markup language for speech. In that, you can make your bot speak slowly. You can make your bot speak really fast, louder, lower, and you can play sounds, be it as special effects or music, etc. So how would you do that? Here in the answers, oh goodness, I'm sorry, but it's not holding the screen display setting correctly. There we go. So responses. So this response here is a basic response. We could add a more elaborate response that would have then SSML tags. SSML tags are pretty much like HTML tags. And you put the URL of the MP3 or WAV file that you have, and it would then play that sound in the answer. Some solutions like Alexa or Google Assistant do limit your answers. So if you don't have like a music playing service that is marked as such, then it's going to cap them at 120 seconds, I believe. So what else should we do with our bot?
What about internationalization?
Internationalization, so adding more languages. All right. So here you can see we have the intents of our bot. We have hello bot, that was the one that greets you, and the PhD in machine learning. And then there is, of course, the default welcome one that just welcomes the user, or the fallback one when the bot didn't understand it asks, sorry, could you please repeat? So you see all the intents. Now, if I come here, you can see here EN for English. I can press the plus sign, select an additional language. Let's say I want to add German language. I save it. Then I select German on the left-hand side. And I now can go to my intents. And now my intents are going to be there. The intents are the same. You can see that the parameters, the variables, they're also the same. But you don't have any training phrases anymore because now it's another language. So I could say, hallo Roboter, ich heiße Paulo. And I could add that as an example. And I can then add a response in German. Hallo, and then name. Ich bin der Roboter. All right, so we save that. So I can now test it. Hallo, Roboter, ich heiße Chris. Takes a while again. Let's try again.
Is it because of the capitalization?
I don't think so. It should normalize that. It's just that it takes the time. Yeah. So now it answers. So I mentioned that you don't need a PhD in machine learning to do that. However, there is a lot of machine learning behind. And when you give those examples, it takes a moment for the models to be generated in the background. So yeah, doing live has those risks, but well, it worked. So it's very simple, but it gives you an idea on how to add multiple languages. Yes, please?
I don't know if it's possible to do it live now, but how would we do to then have 1,500 possibilities of answer or questions?
I see. All right.
Let's see how.
I understand. So her question was how to make it understand the thousands of possible ways that a user could say something, one intent. So here, yeah, we have only one example for this sentence. And of course, it's a live demo, so it's very few. In our live bot, we actually have hundreds of them. And as I had mentioned earlier, you have to involve an international team. However, you don't necessarily have to go to the thousands of examples. The reason is the bot doesn't really take those sentences verbatim. If you gave a few examples and the user says something that is nothing like any of the examples, but it could interpolate from them, it'll understand it. And the more it understands stuff that it hasn't seen, the more it learns that it can understand it like that again in the future. Furthermore, there is this feature called training. I'm going to show you that as well. So let's say that your bot still didn't understand something that you wanted to tell it, all right? So for instance, I'm back to the English bot, and I just say, hi there. It's very different. It possibly won't understand what I mean. So, sorry, I didn't get that. This time it was on purpose, though. So we can come here, training, has this training part. Here I can see the stuff that got assigned to intent. So the user said this sentence, and it mapped to this intent, etc., etc. But here, for instance, hi there, the sentence I gave right now, it didn't map to anything because I didn't teach it anything similar. So I can click to assign. I can add it to the hello bot intent, approve, agent training started. Might be a while, so maybe if I do it right now, it won't work, but in 30 seconds or so, it will. If I say, hi there you go. Now it asks me, what is my name? Let's say my name is Ahmed. I said that, and now it says, hello, Ahmed. So it can be trained like that. So what we do live is, every now and then we check this training tool to see what the users have said that didn't get identified, and we teach the bot. So you start with a small sample, and you grow with the user's help, essentially. All right, next. Do we have any more requests of stuff that we could do live here?
How about the small talk?
Small talk. All right. So small talk on Dialogflow Flow works in English. They haven't rolled it out for other languages yet. So here there's small talk on the left. On our bot, on our production bot, we actually have small talk in all languages, but then we implemented it using the webhook. But let's say that we want to do small talk here. So I clicked on the left hand side menu here, small talk. I enable it. And then we can add stuff, for instance, about the agent. So who are you? And then the bot can say, I am a very interesting chatbot. And then we save. We give it a moment, and then, who are you? It didn't understand yet. It takes a while, as I had said. So let's try again. So now it answers. And then it has many sample sentences. So, are you hungry? Will you marry me? I mean, people do say those things to bots. Then you can inspire yourself here and add a few answers like that. Furthermore, you notice I added the first here. I am a very interesting chatbot. And then a second line showed up. So you can add multiple answers. And if the user asks repeatedly that, it's going to randomly pick one of the answers. So it doesn't have to respond the same way every single time to the same thing. All right, we had a hand raised over there.
I wanted to ask for the same.
You wanted to ask for the same. All right. So any more suggestions of what we could do? Facebook Messenger integration. All right. That's a tougher one. Not going to be able to do the whole process here. So on the left-hand side here, you have integrations. Dialogflow, the reason why we use Dialogflow is because it has so many integrations. Of course, Google Assistant, Dialogflow is a Google tool, but it has Facebook Messenger, Slack, Skype, and other tools. So you can create bots for those platforms. If I wanted to create a Facebook Messenger integration, I would come here, enable it, and then it brings up this, this screen. The process for Facebook Messenger is a bit longer. It has a link for external documentation. You need to go to the Facebook developers page as well, create an application there. But we actually are working on that for a live release. And yeah, I could, of course, get back to people in more detail per email later on. We had a hand over there.
Yeah, it's more of a question than a request. It's about the language thing. So you add more languages. Is it possible to, when you add another language to, so you have an English robot with some preset sentences and questions and intents, when you create another language, does it provide an option to just translate the stuff and then maybe you work on them? But
you mean automatic translation? Okay. So the question was, when you're translating your bot, when you're adding a new language, so it creates all the intents, it transfers the variables, and the question was, does it transfer automatically the text? Does it auto-translate using Google Translate or something? The answer is no. And I think it's for good reason. Because first, automatic translations might not be perfect for that. And second, a lot of stuff might transfer linguistically, but not culturally. And this is really important. This is a robot. This is not going to take into consideration some nuances of the communication with your user, and therefore it makes sense to start from scratch there also. So that is the reason. All right. I'm afraid we are up with the time for live demos. Please feel free to write me on my email in case I can answer further questions. Thank you very much.